Have you ever wanted to figure out AI-assisted multi-track editing in Descript? This video has a combination of my trial and error, and I think the flow works quite well now. So stay tuned, and I think you'll find this video useful if you do edit for a podcast or you have multiple video tracks that you want to combine together into a single track output. Then I think this is going to be great for you. To give you some context, I create videos typically over the shoulder screen share videos with my camera and with a screen share of some AI workflow or building out a code or an MVP of some kind. What I've found is getting that base edit is all you really need for these style of videos. It doesn't have to be a hyper flashy video put together in CapCut with beautiful transitions and infographics or done in After Effects or Adobe Premiere or anything like that. Really all we need is a tutorial video with an intro like this, a talking head intro, and then over the shoulder shots put together in sync to be able to then output a flow. Other considerations that I did factor in is using AI after this stage to repurpose the content into, for example, a 9:16 short instead of a 16:9 long video. So the format that I've chosen is to also make that easier down the line and leverage AI tools to do that, which I'll do in a different video. But essentially, the way I had to do it was a screen share as one track and a face cam as one track, not a kind of a single track with a recording of them both. That's not something that would help in repurposing content unless it was a very specific format, like my face was in a very specific location and stuff like that. So some of those beautiful screen sharing apps don't work well when you combine the output with the camera and the screen. So because it dynamically changes the size of the shared avatar of yourself, that based on the clicking and what's happening in the screen. So as a result, I would turn the camera off in that software, still get the beautiful screen capture as I'm talking, and then do a separate recording of my face, both of which record audio, and then you can sync them up inside Descript, which took me a while to figure out. Descript doesn't have an auto sync feature, but it doesn't take too long to do either. So, and most of the time you end up muting one of them. Just needs to be roughly in sync with what's being said by the speaker. So let's jump in and have a look at the flow. Okay, so here we're on the Descript homepage. I've just opened the native app on my Mac Mini, and I've just got it on dark mode if it looks a bit different. There's a light mode there. Now, prior to this, you would have recorded the footage and put them into a file or folder together, so we can do one drag and drop operation into the workspace. So we don't want to use this creation process. We want to hit enter, and it will skip that. Go to projects, and one drag in the two files that I'll be using. And so those two files are there. So now what you do is, before you drag any into the workspace, into the scene sort of editor, we want to select them both. And this comes up, they're both selected, and hit create sequence. Just change those speakers to me, they're both me, and then hit create sequence. So this now drops them into my timeline. Of course, I'm looking like I just woke up because I did. Two different recordings recorded on two different devices in the same timeline. Of course, they're not time aligned yet. So let's work on that. I started my webcam recording first and then hit record on my screen recording. So the first thing we do is tidy up this big dead space here. Split the wrong thing. So move the cursor to here, select the right track, hit split, and delete that, move that forward. Likewise, move this up here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Roughly around the same lead time. Doesn't have to be perfect at all. and then you move it there. And then if you hit play, it seems a little bit delayed. You can see the waveform peaks are a little bit slower, but it's like maybe 100 milliseconds or something like that. So I'll do a little trim there and can zoom in. Should be able to, I think I zoomed in too far. There's the trim. Delete that, move that forward. We zoom out. We should see they look pretty good. They're both recorded on the same microphone, same distance from the microphone. Best quality one is probably, they're probably similar. So I wouldn't really be too fussed on which one I do mute. So I'm going to choose the screen share one and mute that track. So then we'll have one track. And then on the top track, I want to apply studio sound effect. There's not many settings you can change here. There's intensity 100%. It's pretty good. It cleans up the audio quite a lot. Luckily, the microphone that I'm using, that's one of the Rode podcaster microphones, USB powered, really cuts out a lot of noise already. So this is going to enhance that to be a little bit more dynamic in the vocals. And then, so now that's running in the background. We could hit done. We're not going to change any other settings here. But the main advantage of doing this is you could have multiple tracks here that are all time aligned. Like in a podcast, you might have 4 or 5 different microphones and different footage that you're recording together. And all you have to do is sort of make those slight adjustments to align the waveforms and then also choose which one you want to be the main focus. And that will give you this sequence. And the sequence, once we drop it in, the AI tools will treat as a single track, which is super useful because then you can edit it on the timeline based on the transcript, because the transcript is now aligned. This is useful too. When you have multiple speakers, it also does diarization, but in my case, it's me underlining these two footages together. So that's all good. So let's hit done. Now you could, depending on the order and timeline, you might have other files you want to be adding that are single and not multicam files. But in this case, I'll just drag this whole sequence in, not the individual files, drag the whole sequence into the timeline, and that will transcribe. Okay, that transcription's done. So we can also open this timeline up. I like to have a look at this view. We can have a listen.
In this video, I want to show you my workflow for creating YouTube thumbnails. Super excited to share this with you. I hope you get some value out of it.
All right, now we have a few cool things here we can do. One is we could speak to the Overlord. I know that sounds funny, but there's actually a setting here called the Overlord. And I can chat to him about editing my video. It's things like removing silence. It's all one sequence, so we can go with those flows fine. But before I do that, I like to set my scenes first. Because if we do that, it can mess up the flow a little bit. So the first thing I'll do is set the first scene. So the first scene is already sort of starts at the beginning. So let's just increase the size of this, probably a shortcut for this. I'm still learning a lot of this myself.
I want to show you my workflow for creating.
We'll move to the next scene.
Excited to share this with you. I hope you get some value.
All right. So let's create a new scene and I'll adjust the layout. We want the layout to be mostly the screen. Move this down here. Probably a stack of shortcuts I could be using for this, but it's easier to do it this way so you guys can see the center. And I'm going to move this down. I'm also going to slightly crop this to be square. And yeah, done. And I'll just put it in the corner here. So the reason why I'm cropping it to be square and not like a fancy circle or anything that you can do with OBS is when I go to repurpose this, the AI tools will pick up the square aspect ratio. And on the bottom of a 9:16 portrait video that would get displayed on social media. If you cut a 9:16 display in half, that bottom section is square. And so that is where my face will be. And then it will also put the screen component up at the top section. So that kind of explains why I'm doing that. In fact, I'll put it right on the corner, right up against the edges. It doesn't look amazing, but I think it gets the message across quite well. All right, so then what's going to happen, you'll see when we
Get some value out of it.
does this, or automatically does this nice animation between the two, which is cool.
And with no intention of hiring a VA as I start my YouTube channel to generate these YouTube thumbnails. These days, with the state of image generation, surely you can. There's a link.
Now I just realized it's not really in the right position. I do want it right to the edge. I don't know. I should have probably recorded this in 16:9, but that's okay. See how it goes there. All right. So the rest of the video is actually just me talking about this screen share. I don't need to go through and with a fine-tooth pen and remove silences and stuff like that. I'll use the AI tools to do that. So really all I need to do, there's a few gaps you can see. I'll click further up just to.
I mean, Airtable and then the customer.
It's actually quite a long video, so we'll zoom out. It's at 28 minutes. I'll just see what the outro does.
Post ID, so it will do. So you can integrate new image models as they get better. Cool. Why you?
So right there, I might add another scene. So cool. I think that's probably another scene. So what you can do here is go back to the top, right click this, copy layout, go down to that last scene. Or if you've got other scenes where you've got multiple speakers, you can go through and do the same process. You have the same layout that you can copy for different scenes just to mix things up. Go paste layout, and now we're full screen again.
Improve the prompt. The input prompt here is really good and improved. And then the output yields a similar thing, but also you can integrate new image models as they get better. Cool. Well, I hope you like this. Follow along for more like this. If you're interested in this workflow, I'll see if I can get it to you.
All right, all we need to do now is say to Overlord. You can do it, some of these things through the AI actions. Edit for clarity, studio sound, remove filler words, remove retakes, shorten word gaps, add chapters. So that's basically what we're going to do. Say, can you please remove bad takes from this video? All right, so say yes. Yes, I can remove bad takes. We'll now remove the bad takes from your video. It is thinking. So the first step is it doing these bad takes removals. Takes a little while. So you can see all the little takes it's going through. So it's saying it's done.
Hey, in this video, I'll show you my workflow for creating YouTube thumbnails. Super excited to share this with you. I hope you get some value out of it. Intention of hiring a VA as I generate these YouTube thumbnails.
It did it.
Most of my workflows is usually with a web port. Is we set it up so I can support multiple entries.
You can see the text it's cut out always. I've said always twice.
Could be more items. So one from another workflow, like say a social media keyword workflow, which is what I'll be using.
Yeah, so cut out multiple customers.
So this thing be really huge.
It's removed quite a lot of little things here. You can see,
The
which is, it's actually quite reliable, I have found. So over time, you'll probably begin to trust it a little bit more, and then you can, and then you might be not one-shotting it and trusting its output a little bit more. Particularly if it's high quality audio, studio mic, the chances of it getting it right in one shot is way better. But you can start having a conversation with it if it got things wrong. So, okay, next we'll go Can we remove filler words as well? So that's now going to remove a lot of those filler words. And then that's going to be pretty much it. Sometimes I shorten word gaps to remove any dead space.
In the prompts, I an option to use it on the designer. Have it add like a custom level thing. So you
You got to be careful. Sometimes it loses some context on like screenshots, screen shares. A thorough review.
so there's a lot of editing workflows out there. Generation angry. There's heaps of new startup now. Yeah, we're using the technology to build out these workflows.
I'll go through and review this now. I'll fast forward so you don't have to deal with that. And I'll show you the very last bit of the process.
For the log and we'll be identity. Great thing.
All right, cool. So I just went through the whole video. There was a couple of areas where the dead space wasn't removed because I was just running a workflow on my computer. So I just went through and manually removed those. And yeah, it's come up quite good. I'm happy with it end to end. There was one section where the automatic cuts removed a little bit of context, which made it a little bit challenging to understand what was going on in that moment. But overall, it was good. I still think, even though I had to go scrub through and listen to that 24-minute video at 1.75 speed, I think I still saved a stack of time because all of those cuts and ums and ahs would have exponentially increased my time on this video. So let's export that now and upload it to YouTube. So I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I hope this was useful for you. It's way simpler than what doing it all manually would be. These AI tools are getting quite good. So it's quite an interesting time we're in. Stay track of this channel and you'll get more videos like this, probably more to do with AI and AI automation. This is just one way that I'm using AI in my workflow to generate content. Great, thanks.